You know, if you're a millennial and you're a Gen Z, we are born into a problem. And that problem is our future is not certain. And, we worked our life and we worked hard to, study, graduate, get a job, only to realize that the money that you'll be earning isn't even enough to survive. So you need a roommate or whatever, right? But more than that is the life that you thought you would have is a dream, right? So, which is basically the root cause of all of this is inflation, right? In the current monetary system. Now, there's a philosophy that I have, right? And that I always think to myself. That is never worry about something that is outside of your control. Something is outside of your control, forget about it. What are you going to do? Forget about it. If it's within your control, you can do something about it. Then do it. Do what you can do. Now, inflation is outside of your control. What are you going to do? Right? Until you hear about Bitcoin. Because now there's a solution to your problem. And the only one standing in your way of fixing your problem, ironically, is just you and your depth of understanding the solution. Is this a solution? Well, maybe, I feel like the smartest thing to do or the most logical thing to do is to just find out. If it's a Ponzi scheme, you know. If it's not a Ponzi scheme, you know, right? Um, so Bitcoin for me, is the solution to the problem. Now you might ask yourself, and this is what this video is about, why Bitcoin? Why? And here's the problem. Most people will confuse Bitcoin with crypto. And if you're that person, I made a video about it yesterday or, in my channel. Um, you know, and it's a deadly comparison because that would mean you are choosing a bullet with blanks over actual live ammunition, right? Imagine living in the 15th century, someone told you about guns and what they told you was blanks, right? Oh, you should invest into guns because that's the future. And they gave you guns with blanks. And you thought that's the future, right? Whereas they kept the guns with bullets. So then you start, and then you realize, well, guns are not anything because they have blanks, right? And then someone told you, no, 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 guns are the future. But then you don't listen anymore because you had the ones with blanks until you get invaded, right? And you could read history on what happened, right? During the Industrial Revolution. Um, but ask yourself, why Bitcoin, right? Why Bitcoin? So Bitcoiners are really, really passionate about Bitcoin for a number of reasons, right? But the two themes, right, that surrounds Bitcoin that I think is the most valuable is the digital scarcity aspect of it, right? That's the actual invention and the decentralization of it. So Bitcoin, as you know, has only 21 million, right? And the logical question you might ask yourself if you're thinking is, how do you enforce 21 million? And that's where the decentralization comes in. Because Bitcoin is basically a game where everyone who plays it, or not everyone, but a good majority of people who play it, right, are enforcing the rules of the game. So how do you change the rules of the game if everyone playing it can enforce it? Right? It's hard. So that's what decentralization means, right? So Bitcoin as a software is a very, 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 very simple software, right? That anyone can run from their computer. And the blockchain size of it is, I think, is about almost a terabyte. But a terabyte of space isn't an expensive thing, right? Because, like, you know, there's deflation in technology, right? Um, Whereas with other cryptocurrencies, it's very expensive to run a blockchain or to run a full node because of the complexity of it, right? So when people tell you Bitcoin is not scalable, what they're not really telling you is because it's a very simple protocol, right, that can be built on top of it to promote its scalability, right? That's how you can scale Bitcoin, is building on top of Bitcoin and provide solutions for it. Whereas when someone comes to you, hey, Bitcoin is slow, Bitcoin is complex, or Bitcoin is whatever, I feel like what they're basically trying to do is to scam you into buying something that is absolutely worthless. Because Bitcoin is like the internet, right? Nobody wants another internet. And if someone tells you, I got something great for you. Do you know the internet? Yeah. Well, the internet's got problems. I got something else that's even better than that. You know that's a snake oil salesman. You know that this is a con man because we know what the internet is, but we don't know what Bitcoin is. So it's so easy to con people into thinking the next Bitcoin, because there can't be another Bitcoin, because the only reason why Bitcoin is whatever it is right now is because of its consensus. It's like the internet, right? It's a network. The hash rate of Bitcoin proves the number of people who are committed to getting the amount of Bitcoin, right? And the network and how strong it is. So if you have so much people who are in agreement, then the next logical answer is why? Sorry, the logical question you might ask yourself is, why are they in such an agreement? And what is this thing? And this is where the knowledge comes in. And I really urge you to start studying this thing, because it is um, a turning point for the human civilization. And I do think um, it, there's always just one thing. You ask people, billionaires or millionaires, how did you get so wealthy? And they always tell you it's just this one deal that I had. It's just one deal that I made, or one move that I have, right? That I've done. Bitcoin is that one thing that could take you to a whole other level, right? And you could start with just studying it first, right? And once you're studying it, well, you're gonna have two options. It's either you don't invest in it, you think this is too complex for you to understand, so you completely ignore it. You'd be like, okay, but if you do understand it and you become convinced of the technology, here's what I'm gonna say: you're not too late. It's almost insane to think that Bitcoin is at 13,000 today, and it's still early. It's still early because people are still accepting fiat currencies for Bitcoin. I feel like it's too late when people stop accepting fiat currencies for Bitcoin. And until then, you still got a chance. And also, the average person thinks Bitcoin is crypto. So until people say, oh, Bitcoin is different, right? Or your family member asking you, hey, have you ever heard of this Bitcoin thing, right? Until that happens, you got a chance. So you're not too late. And forget about this unit bias where, there's Bitcoin is $113,000. You can just get a fraction of a Bitcoin. A fraction of a Bitcoin is going to make you very wealthy, right? And it's going to make you'll be way better off than having a fraction of a Bitcoin than where you are at today, or where you would be without any of it, right? So, someone might tell you Bitcoin is going to be $1 million in 4 years, or it's going to be, tens of millions of dollars at that point. I find all of that to be noise. Those are all noise. The only truth that's real and that is true is that it is very valuable. There's only 21 million Bitcoin, and one Bitcoin is one Bitcoin. Therefore, you need to any Satoshis is worth a lot in the future. So forget about what the price is in dollars. Focus on stacking sats, focusing on acquiring amount of Satoshis, and in the end, you will be rewarded whenever that time will be. Doesn't matter, right? Just stack sats. You know how much you end up acquiring. That's how much it is. This is why I say whatever you can't control, you can't control. Whatever you can control, you could control. You know, take a deep breath. You can do this. You really can, right? How much you end up with doesn't matter. The goal is to stack sats and do it honestly, do it genuinely if you decide to do so. This is not financial advice, of course. if you end up if you end up deciding to acquire Bitcoin and you want to acquire Bitcoin, you're not too late. You can do it. Focus. All right. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity. And yeah, you know, like I say in every other video, you know, you got free will. I'm not going to tell you to subscribe. You can subscribe if you want. You can like and share if you want. You can do whatever the hell you want because you are a human being with free will. You do whatever the hell you want to do. Until next time.